Masterpiece or mess? That was genuinely the question running through my head after my first listen to Devin Townsend's new album, The Moth. And honestly, my gut was leaning pretty hard towards mess. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I almost didn't even make this video. I put this on Friday afternoon. My first thought was, this is not for me. I don't get it. I'm probably never going to listen to it again. But something made me go back. And what happened, that second listen completely changed everything. So let's talk about it. Before I get into the album itself, let me give you some context on my relationship with Devin Townsend because I think it matters here. I discovered him about 10 years ago through Strapping Young Lad, and if you don't know that band, just imagine the most intense, aggressive, chaotic metal you've ever heard and multiply it by 10. That was my entry point. Heavy, brutal, relentless. So naturally, when I started exploring his solo work more seriously around 2020 or 2021, it was quite the adjustment. Around the time he released the double album Snuggles and Puzzles, it was this weird ambient experimental record I reviewed on my channel. I didn't really connect with it and I moved on pretty quickly, but then came Lightwork, which I genuinely liked, a strong focused album, and then Power Nerd, which I appreciated for being more laid back and fun, a lighter side of Devin that was easy to enjoy. So going into The Moth, I felt like I had a decent handle on where this guy was as an artist. I thought I knew what to expect, but I was wrong. The Moth is Devin Townsend's 31st studio album, released on May 29, 2026 through Inside Out Music and Heavy Devi Records. He described it as his life's work, a project over a decade in the making, and by far his most ambitious, expensive, and high-concept undertaking to date. Conceptually, it's a 24-track rock opera that charts the full spectrum of human experience, from birth to death, using the metaphor of a moth, a creature that transforms from a caterpillar, undergoes a metamorphosis, and is ultimately drawn so close to the light that it burns itself away, leaving only spirit behind. Thematically, it's about self-examination, letting go of old patterns, finding the courage to face discomfort, so it's some really heavy thematic stuff. Musically, Devin Townsend stepped away from the traditional progressive metal structures and leaned heavily into the Broadway musicals he loved as a kid. For example, Jesus Christ Superstar and Phantom of the Opera. Those theatrical, grand, emotionally sweeping style. And to bring that vision to life, the entire album was built from the ground up with the North Netherlands Orchestra and Choir, 70 musicians, and a 60-member choir. No synthesizers as a substitute. It's the real thing from day one. The core band features longtime collaborators Mike Kennelly, Darby Todd, and James Leach. Guest vocalists include the incredible Anneke van Giebersbergen and Lin Wu from progressive band Ow. And perhaps most symbolically, guitar legend Steve Vai makes an appearance, the man who originally launched Townsend's career back in 1983, a full creative circle, which is closed. The project's also structured into 3 releases, the main studio album, an orchestra-only version called The Afterlife, and a live recording called The War, captured in Groningen, Netherlands. It's a massive undertaking by any standard. So here's where I have to be honest with you, because my initial reaction was not good. When The Moth was released, I sat down and listened to the deluxe version, all 48 tracks front to back in one sitting, which is over 2 hours of music. And by the end of it, I was completely lost. Not in a good way. In a way like, what did I just experience and why do I feel exhausted kind of way. And here's the thing, this isn't really a criticism of the album's quality so much as a warning about an approach. If you go into The Moth expecting a heavy metal album with big catchy riffs, traditional song structures, and standalone singles you can throw on a playlist, you're going to be confused and probably frustrated. The listener is going to bounce off the record hard. Most tracks on the album are in the 1 to 2 minute range. They're movements, not songs. They're pieces of a larger puzzle that only makes sense when you experience the whole picture. On first listen, especially with 48 tracks hitting you all at once, none of it lands the way it's supposed to. You're absorbing so much the orchestral information, so many vocal textures, so many tonal shifts that your brain kind of shuts down and stops processing. I almost didn't review the album at all. I thought I didn't get it, maybe I'm not the audience for it, and some people, that might generally be the case. This is not easy listening. It's not background music. It demands your full attention and your patience, and not everyone is going to want to give it that. And that's a fair criticism to make. But now for some of the positives. So let me tell you about when I went back to the album. So It was Saturday morning. I put on my headphones, I started cleaning the floors, and you know how it is. Sometimes the best listening happens when your hands are busy and your mind is free. And I put on the main 24-track album, not the deluxe, no extras, just a core record front to back. And something completely happened. It clicked. Suddenly, the short movements made sense as chapters in the story. The orchestral swells felt earned. The emotional arc of the whole thing, the birth, struggle, transformation, letting go, started landing in a way that genuinely moved me. You stop hearing individual songs and start living inside an experience. The characters feel real, the journey feels personal, and there were moments on the record that I listened to when I stopped what I was doing because something hit me emotionally in a way I wasn't expecting. And that's when I started thinking this might be something genuinely special. Not just a good progressive metal album, something that could stand alongside the great rock operas of all time. I kept thinking about The Who's Tommy in that same sense of a fully realized world where the music isn't just accompaniment to a story, it is a story. The Moth has that quality. It takes time to reveal itself, but when it does, it's extraordinary. The combination of the orchestra, the choir, the metal, the theatrical vocals, it fuses into something that I feel is completely singular, and nothing else quite like this record. And for an artist on the 31st album, that's an astonishing thing to be able to say. Now, 24 tracks, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I want to highlight a few I think could stand out and even work as entry points for new listeners. First one I'd like to point out is Enter the City. This is where the album first sounds like something you would associate with Devin Townsend. Big theatrical elements of extreme metal, not overwhelming. Choruses are massive, vocals are soaring. It's a great starting point. Then there's Covered by Causes. This is the longest track at 8 minutes. Stands out an album where most songs barely hit 2 minutes. It's a brief burst of intensity that almost sound like Strapping Young Lad, but contrasted with quieter, more delicate moments featuring the female vocals. There are passages that genuinely remind me of Goodbye Blue Sky from Pink Floyd's The Wall. It's the most dynamic track on the record, and it is stunning. Orion is another highlight. Lots of vocal harmonies, Townsend showing off his operatic range, and it feels like a nod to some of his earlier work. Fans of his back catalog will love this one. Home at Night is fully operatic. No metal here, no rock. It genuinely sounds something from a classical opera stage, but his vocal performance is so committed and so beautiful that it completely works. And finally, Prepare for War, which was released as a single. One of the longest songs. It's big, it's cinematic, features the female vocalist prominently, and honestly might be the best introduction to what the album is trying to do. So here's where I land. The Moth is the kind of album you probably are not going to like the first time you hear it, and that's okay, because some of the greatest albums ever made are exactly like that. This one took me 2 listens to click. For someone else, it might take 3 or 4, but I genuinely believe the investment is worth it. What Devin Townsend has created here is something that transcends genre. It can be enjoyed by metal fans, by lovers of classical music, by anyone who appreciates ambitious, emotionally honest artistic expression. The extreme metal elements are present but measured. They serve the story rather than dominate it. So it's not going to scare away listeners who aren't into heavy music. I went from almost not making this video, and now I'm giving the album 9.5 out of 10, one of my highest scores of the year, and I'm standing by it. So don't sleep on the Moth. Give it the time it deserves. In the meantime, check out my other reviews. I'll stick a couple other reviews of Devin Townsend album reviews. I'll do like the last 2, Light Work and Power Nerd. I'll put them over there. Thanks for watching. Please like the video. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And please subscribe if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And I'll see you in the next one.